There is a silence more powerful than thunder, a presence that lingers longer than touch. Some women do not chase love, they become the kind of love that is never forgotten. And among them there is the older woman, wise, weathered not by age, but by her own becoming. She has walked through fire without bitterness, stood alone without complaint, and learned that her softness is her strength. Why does she remain in a man's mind long after the noise fades? Why does her memory return like a calm breeze in the middle of chaos? Stay until the very end, and you will see how her way of living holds a truth that many seek, but few embody. Ask yourself, is the echo I leave behind born of my noise or my stillness? There are certain women whose presence does not announce itself with noise or decoration, yet it lingers in the soul like the scent of jasmine in the air after dusk. These women do not strive to be remembered, they simply are, not because they sought the spotlight, but because they carried the light within, and when a man recalls her, it is not her words he remembers, but the way he felt when she looked at him, when she listened, when she simply existed in stillness. It is the emotional imprint of her being that remains. This is emotional presence, a stillness that speaks, a clarity that heals without effort. An older woman who has not merely aged in years, but ripened in awareness, does not need to impress. She impresses upon the heart naturally, like a river carves its path into the earth, not suddenly, but inevitably. To understand this, imagine a bell in a monastery courtyard. It does not ring for attention, but when struck with sincerity, its sound carries far into the valleys, echoing long after the strike is gone. Her emotional presence is like that bell, resonant, enduring, and not easily forgotten. There is a parable told among the old Zen gardens. A young disciple asked his master, "How do I leave an impression on others?" The master led him to a pond, perfectly still. Without a word, he picked up a pebble and dropped it gently into the center. The ripples reached every edge, smooth and graceful. "The pond remembers the pebble," said the master, "because it entered without force. To leave a lasting mark, you must learn how to enter." In much the same way, emotional presence is not achieved through effort, but through refinement. The woman who sits with her feelings, watches her own storms without flinching, and walks gently through her own fire, she carries a serenity that needs no explanation. Others may try to be interesting, she is interested. While the world performs, she observes, and in her gaze is the rarest of gifts, attention without agenda. Real life offers many mirrors to this truth. Think of a quiet nurse who calms a trembling child without speaking, or a teacher whose students hush not because she demands it, but because her stillness invites it. Even in nature, this wisdom shows itself. The moon draws tides without touching the sea. The lotus blooms without pushing through the water. Their power lies in presence, not pressure. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "Those who are truly wise do not speak often. But when they do, the world listens as though it hears water after a long drought." This is what makes her unforgettable. Not the volume of her voice, the depth of her silence. To be emotionally present is not to become emotionless. It is to feel everything without becoming consumed. Offer space for others without losing your own center. This kind of presence is born from inner practice. Meditation, solitude, watching the breath until thoughts dissolve like mist. It is in those moments when the mind stops chasing and starts witnessing, presence begins to grow. And so she remains not because she filled the room, but because she filled that moment. Not because she impressed, because she was real. Emotional presence is not something one wears. It is something one becomes. And those who encounter it never truly forget. Now, let the path continue. Like the river flowing from mountain to valley, we move from presence to power, yet not the power of dominance or control. We speak now of the power that comes through stillness, through restraint, through this quiet refusal to react. In the world of noise, stillness is rebellion. And yet, this rebellion does not burn, it cools. It tempers the fire of ego, the frenzy of competition, the panic of being overlooked. An older woman who learns to remain still in the face of chaos becomes more than memorable. She becomes transformative. There is an old Shaolin teaching. The tiger roars, but it is the mountain that remains. In relationships, in life, many roar to be heard, to be felt, to be seen. But the woman who has become like the mountain, rooted, unmoved, she evokes something deeper. Not admiration, not fear, but self-respect. Imagine a bamboo forest. In storms, the trees bend without breaking. They do not resist the wind with brute force, yet they survive. Their secret is in their flexibility, their willingness to move but not collapse. Such is the strength of emotional stillness. The woman who does not react immediately, who allows the space between trigger and response to widen, becomes unshakable. Her strength lies not in suppression, but in as awareness. A story is told of a monk who was insulted by a visitor. The visitor, full of anger, shouted and cursed. The monk said nothing. After a while, the man asked, "Have you nothing to say?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man frowned. "To the one who offers." The monk nodded. "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." This is not indifference. This is mastery. And the older woman who learns this becomes a sanctuary in a world of storms. She does not match fire with fire. She cools it with her presence. She becomes water, not weak, but unstoppable. You may see this in everyday life. A mother who listens to her child's tantrum without raising her voice. A woman at work who responds to unfair criticism with calm clarity instead of defense. Or even in nature, the mountain lake that reflects everything yet disturbs nothing. This kind of strength is not rewarded with applause, but it is remembered with reverence. As the ancient sage Nagona once wrote, "The one who is not stirred by praise or blame has crossed the ocean of the world. That ocean, wild and restless, is tamed not by force, but by stillness. The stillness of the woman who no longer needs to prove, who no longer chases what is already hers, the right to peace. Her silence is not withdrawal, it is discipline. Her restraint is not weakness, it is wisdom. And in her others feel safe, not because she controls the moment, but because she anchors it. Her lack of reaction creates room for healing. Her pauses offer space for truth. Together, emotional presence and stillness create an invisible yet unbreakable legacy. She is not remembered for what she did to others, but for what she awakened within them. That is why she stays in his mind, not as a memory, as a mirror. A mirror to what is possible when one becomes whole, calm, and quietly free. This journey is not just hers. It is offered to anyone willing to slow down, breathe deeper, and let go of the need to be seen in order to be felt. In the end, it is not the storm that teaches us. It is the one who stood still within it. There is a quiet strength in knowing when to release. Just as the tree does not cling to its leaves in autumn, a wise woman learns that not everything that enters her life is meant to stay. She understands that love, like breath, must flow freely, received and released in rhythm. The older woman who becomes unforgettable is not one who holds on tightly to people or outcomes, but one who trusts the sacred art of letting go. This letting go is not rooted in detachment or coldness, but in clarity. She no longer seeks to control what must move, nor fears the empty space it may leave behind. Where others grasp from fear, she opens from faith. The faith that what is truly meant will remain, and what departs makes room for something deeper to arrive. There is a tale of a monk who carried a bowl of water through a winding mountain path. He was told not to spill a single drop. With trembling hands and careful steps, he focused on the water so intently that he forgot to look at the road. He tripped and fell, the bowl shattering. Later, the master gave him another bowl and said, "This time, walk with balance, not fear." The monk walked slowly with relaxed attention. The bowl stayed full not because he gripped it tighter, but because he walked in flow. The master smiled. Holding on too tightly is the surest way to lose. Letting go is not always visible. Sometimes it happens quietly, in the heart, in the release of resentment, in the forgiveness never voiced, in the goodbyes spoken only to oneself. The older woman knows that her peace is too precious to be held hostage by what no longer serves her. And in this quiet courage, she teaches others that strength is not in clinging, but in surrendering with grace. Nature echoes this wisdom. Observe the tide, pulls and recedes, and yet the ocean loses nothing, or the eagle who drops its feathers to grow new ones. Even the moon lets go of its fullness and still returns. The lesson is always there. The cycle of life is not one of possession, but of continual return. In daily life, this can be seen in a woman who walks away from a love that diminishes her spirit, not with bitterness, with a bowed head and a steady step, or in one who ends an argument not by proving herself right, but by choosing silence over conflict. She does not allow ego to dictate her path. She lets go not because she is weak, because she is finally strong enough to trust what comes after. There is a saying by the Zen poet Ryokan, "If you want to see the moon, do not hold on to the branches." In clinging, we block our own view of the beauty that's meant to unfold. In releasing, we make space for the next phase of becoming. When she lets go, she is not saying, "I do not care." She is saying, "I choose peace over possession." This letting go does not erase her memory, it deepens it. For the man who knew her remembers not the drama of her exit, but the dignity with which she departed. And in that graceful release, she becomes unforgettable, not as a shadow of pain, but as a symbol of strength. From this place of surrender arises another form of power. It is not loud nor easily seen, but it is the foundation of everything she is. It is the power that comes through self-mastery, the quiet, disciplined shaping of the soul. An older woman who is deeply respected does not arrive at that place by accident. She becomes that woman by choice, by practice, by walking a path inward long before others saw her shine. Her grace is not in how she appears, but in how she responds. She knows her triggers, not to avoid them, but to transform them. She watches her mind as one watches a wild horse, not to suppress it, but to understand its movements. Over time, the mind grows still, and from that stillness arises an elegance not taught by fashion, but by inner alignment. There is a parable from the mountains of old. A disciple asked the master, "How can I find the strength to lead others?" The master gave him a bowl of rice and said, "Eat when you are hungry." The student looked confused. "But how does this teach me to lead?" The master replied, "First, learn to feed yourself without needing others to serve you. First, know hunger and the patience to cook your own rice. From that, strength will come. Self-mastery is born from self-responsibility, the willingness to sit with discomfort, to delay reaction, to choose discipline over desire. In a world that moves fast, where validation is external and comparison constant, the woman who turns inward becomes like a tree whose roots grow deeper with every storm. Her power lies not in perfection, but in her practice. She rises before the sun, not for performance, but for alignment. She says no, not to hurt, but to preserve what is sacred. She does not explain herself often, because she is no longer living for approval. We see this in nature all around us. The river flows not because it tries to impress the mountain, but because it follows its course. Sunflower turns to the light without questioning the shadow. Even the seasons do not rush their bloom. There is discipline in their rhythm, beauty born of order, not chaos. In the life of a person, self-mastery can appear in many quiet forms. It is in the woman who speaks kindly even when criticized, because she has trained her mind not to be reactive. It is in the elder who continues learning, reading, growing, while others retire their curiosity. It is in the one who chooses silence when anger beckons, because she knows that not every invitation deserves acceptance. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This applies to every woman who has ever learned to sit with pain, breathe through the achy, and rise without vengeance. Her freedom is not loud, but it is complete. And in that freedom, others sense something rare, a soul unshaken by the world's opinions. Discipline does not make her rigid. It makes her graceful. Like a dancer who has practiced the same movement 1,000 times, her actions seem effortless, yet they are deeply intentional. Her voice, her gaze, her steps, they carry the weight of someone who has met herself fully and chosen peace over performance. She becomes respected not through demand, but through demonstration. She does not speak of her wisdom, she embodies it. And when she loves, it is with a full heart that expects nothing. Because she no longer needs others to complete her experience, she brings wholeness into the relationship, not longing. Letting go and self-mastery are not two separate paths. They are threads of the same cloth. One creates space, the other fills it with truth. One releases the noise, the other tunes the instrument of the soul. Together, they transform a woman into a presence that lingers long after she is gone, not in memory alone, in the way others carry themselves after knowing her. Her existence teaches quietly, release what isn't yours, cultivate what is, return to breath, to presence, to choice, and from that sacred stillness rise. For in the end, it is not the woman who clings, nor the one who conquers, who stays in the heart. It is the one who becomes. There is a mystery that does not confuse, but nourishes. Kind of mystery not born from hiding, but from depth. The older woman who is remembered long after parting does not reveal everything at once. She does not decorate her life with excessive detail, nor empty herself to be understood. Instead, she carries herself like a forest, where every path invites wonder and every silence is alive with meaning. Her mystery is not concealment, invitation. She reveals just enough for one to pause, to lean in, to listen more deeply. This form of mystery arises not from manipulation, from mastery. It is a quiet awareness of her own worth, a knowing that she is not defined by the questions of others. In her restraint is grace. She does not rush to share every scar, every dream, every thought. She waits, she observes. She listens to the space between words and speaks only when her truth is ripe. In the mountains, there is a story told of a woman who lived near a sacred spring. Many travelers passed her home, asking about the source of the water. She never pointed directly. Instead, she gave them a wooden cup and said, "Follow the song of the stream. Let it lead you." Some returned quickly, frustrated. Others lingered and listened, and in time they found the spring. "Why not show them the way?" a boy once asked. She replied, "What is found without effort is often left without gratitude. Mystery feeds patience, and patience ripens understanding." Such is the spirit of the older woman whose mystery lingers. She knows that intimacy is not built by revealing everything quickly, but by offering oneself slowly, like a book read by firelight, one page at a time. And in doing so, she teaches others the art of presence, of attentiveness, of reverence. In daily life, this mystery appears in subtle gestures. A woman who smiles not because she has something to hide, but because she holds something sacred within. A mentor who shares lessons only when the student is ready. A friend who listens far more than she speaks, and when she does speak, her words land like water in a desert. These are not signs of absence. They are signs of intentional presence. We see this mirrored in nature again and again. The moon, though visible, never shows its full face at once. The ocean holds entire worlds beneath its surface. The desert blooms only after deep silence and rain. What is most powerful often begins in stillness and unfolds over time. The philosopher Zhuangzi once wrote, "The wise man knows when to speak and when to be silent." A shallow stream is noisy, deep river flows in quiet strength. So it is with the woman who knows the rhythm of mystery. Her silence is not a wall, but a doorway. Her restraint is not absence, but depth waiting to be witnessed. Mystery, in its highest form, is an act of generosity. It allows others the space to explore, to wonder, to engage not just with her image, but with their own depth through her presence. And in doing so, she becomes unforgettable, not because she was fully seen, but because she helped others see more clearly. It is from this soil of mystery that true compassion grows, but not the kind of compassion that rescues or diminishes. No, the older woman who truly remains in the heart practices a compassion that strengthens rather than saves. She does not pour herself out endlessly to fix others. Instead, she offers her presence as a mirror, reflecting others back to themselves with clarity, not pity. This kind of compassion comes only after one has faced her own wounds, sat beside them without shame, and learned to love them into silence. She no longer rescues from guilt. She serves from groundedness. She offers love that does not bind but liberates. There is a Zen tale of a monk who found a bird with a broken wing. He built a small cage to protect it and fed it daily. Over time, bird healed, but it remained in the cage, never flying. Another monk passed by and asked, "Why do you not open the door?" The first monk replied, "I was afraid it would be hurt again." The second monk gently opened the cage. Bird flew into the sky. "True compassion," he said, "is not protecting others from pain, giving them the strength to face it on their own." The older woman who practices this compassion is not driven by the need to be needed. She knows her worth exists beyond what she gives. And so, when she offers kindness, it is clean, without hooks, without expectations. She holds space without judgment, supports without control. She may listen to a man's sorrow, but she does not carry his pain as her own. She stands as a reminder that healing is an inner path walked alone but witnessed by the wise. In daily life, form of compassion can be seen in the mentor who does not fix a student's mistake, patiently lets them struggle until understanding dawns. Or in the friend who does not interrupt tears with solutions, simply stays beside you, breathing quietly. Or in a mother who lets her child fall, knowing that confidence is built in rising. Nature, again, offers its guidance. The sun warms all things, but forces none to bloom. The tree offers shade to all who pass, does not lean forward to shelter them. The wind carries seeds across great distances, never knowing which will take root. There is no urgency in this compassion. Only offering, only presence. The Buddhist teacher Dogen once said, "To give is not to remove, but to reveal." This is the essence of her compassion. She does not seek to erase suffering, to remind others of their own strength beneath it. Her love is a fire, warm, alive, yet contained. It lights the path, not carries the traveler. When a man encounters such compassion, he does not forget it. Not because she healed him, because she trusted him to heal. He remembers how she believed in his strength, even when he doubted it. And in her gaze, he saw something unfamiliar, not rescue, but recognition. Mystery and compassion walk hand in hand. One invites others inward. The other holds them there with grace. One speaks in riddles of the soul. The other offers the silent embrace of truth. Together, they shape a woman into a force not easily defined, but deeply felt. Her love is not a storm that sweeps away all in its path. It is the soft rain that nourishes the roots, the quiet light that awakens the seed. She is not remembered for what she did, but for what she thought evoked dignity, strength, awareness. And so the journey returns to stillness, from presence to letting go, from mastery to mystery, from compassion to liberation. The woman who lives this way becomes a lesson, a blessing, a breath of something eternal. Not because she claimed it, but because she became it. When the noise of the world quiets, when the masks fall, when longing replaces distraction. It is her he remembers, not for her age, not for her beauty, but for how he felt in her presence, seen, grounded. Awake, this is not a lesson in seduction. This is a lesson in self-return. The woman who anchors in her essence, who disciplines her mind, loves without chains, walks with graceful mystery. She is not unforgettable because of what she gives, but because of what she is. Let this be your invitation, not to become her, but to become you, fully, quietly, deeply. Rewatch this, not to memorize, to remember that your echo is not in your words, but in your way of being.